Alright, so this tutorial is actually inspired from a lot of emails that I received about the man rig and like the Ninja Bud for people that maybe don't have the version of Max that I made that file in, like 2008. Maybe they've got 8 or 9 or 7. So basically what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you how to go about creating your own. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to create half of a rectangle like so, and I'm going to put the lathe modifier on it and set it to align min, and now flip the normals and weld decor. Okay, so I can see, and I'm going to turn on the show and result when I come down here, and let's just close that in. Okay, so we have effectively made ourselves a cylinder. The thing is, the cylinder is going to actually be a lot easier to control, and we're going to have the ability to do some pretty cool things with it. I'm going to select, as you can see, these two vertices here. And I'll move those in to make the cylinder a little skinnier. Okay, and now I'm going to come in here, right click, and go refine, and I'm just going to add two vertices like so. And as you see now, we get the ability to move these guys out. And same with down here, we can do some cool little controls with it. Alright, so with that, I'm going to go to hierarchy, effect pivot. I'm going to center it to the object. Now I'm going to just move it right up here to the center, to the top of the object, like this. Okay, so now what that would do for us is when we rotate, we see that it's rotating from that pivot point, which is what we want. So we could say, alright, there's our leg. I'm going to go ahead and scale this down, just because I know I like to try to keep the size of my characters, that it stands on top of this grid pretty well, and I think that this will be pretty good right here. Now, after I scaled it, you'll notice down here that it says that's at 35%. I'm going to come over here and go reset scale, and you see now that it's back to 100%, which is what we want, especially when we start animating this thing. If we were to attach IK to it and different things like that, we want the scale factor to be at 100%. Otherwise, we're going to get distortions that we're not going to like. Okay, so I'm going to rotate this forward just a little bit, and I'm going to pull this down. Go to my left. Let's see. Alright, yeah. Okay, so I rotated that the wrong way. So I'm going to go to my left view and rotate this forward. Okay, reason being is I like for my characters to be facing the front view, and we can always tell which way the front view is because the front view looks down the y-axis. X is always going left to right, Z is always up, and Y is going to always be looking straight at you. So we see the knee is bent towards us, which is what we want. So I go back to my left view, hold shift, make a copy, put it right about there, and we can rotate this one back in like so. So we got ourselves a leg, and now I'm going to make a box, because this is going to be his foot. I'm just going to drag out a box like so. And I see that the length and width segments are 1, so I'm going to go ahead and convert to an editable poly. And here's where you can feel free to basically model this however you want. The only thing that matters here is that it's a foot. Okay, so I'm going to go to my front view, line this up a little bit, and let's pull these guys in, and maybe I'll pull these out. Okay, so we're just making ourselves a foot, that's all. Pull that forward. Okay. Now we need to do the same with our pivot point, and as you'll see, I'm not going to notice here I'm putting the pivot point about where I think the ankle would be. Let's take a look in the front view, make sure that's still pretty good. You'll see that the whole trick to making these things are ensuring that your pivot points are in the right place. As we can see, the knee's bending correctly, the thigh would be bending correctly, foot, and that's really the trick. You can make anything that you want, any kind of character that you want, as long as, I'm just going to leave that alone. That's good for now. The only thing we need to do is affect the pivot. So, and again, I'm going to put it right here in the center, go to front view, ensure that it's looking right. Okay, so we see there's our toe. Okay, now my character's got spheres at his joints. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just creating one, and then I'm going to hit Alt-A, which is the shortcut for the Align tool. As we can see, it's active now. And then I'm going to click on the foot box, and we see that it's going to be centered to the pivot point on X, Y, and Z, and hit OK. And now we can raise the radius a little bit if we want, and now that will be his ankle. I'm going to hit Control V and make a copy. Okay, and now hit Alt A, and again I'm going to pick here, and we see that it's going to the pivot point, which is what we want. And again, Control V, copy, and then Alt A, and there's the leg. Okay, so there's one leg set up for us. I'm going to go to my front view, and I'm going to go ahead and make a copy, and let's go to the left view, and I'm going to rotate this dude straight up. And so again, as you can see, the process here is pretty much self-explanatory at this point. We're just making our adjustments. We're just doing wherever we see fit concerning our character. As we see here, we've got these hard lines, these hard edges running around. We can fix that by, I'm going to actually select on both these vertices, both of these guys right here, and I'm going to right click and go smooth, and we see that it smooths it right on out for us. We can do the same thing here, right click, smooth, there we go. Okay, so now I'm going to just copy this guy up, and we'll make our adjustments. Maybe this one will go back to being a corner, and I'll line that one right up like so. And maybe I'll get rid of, so I'll just select and hit delete. And maybe this one's going to be a little smaller. And fill the normals. I'll just do one more. So hopefully the process here is pretty self-explanatory. Okay, so I mean we can, obviously make this look any way we want. And I could turn this guy to Bezier corner. And adjust that. So as you see, we have ability to make pretty quick changes. Alright, I'm going to, now for his neck, I'm just going to make me a cylinder. And make sure that it's zeroed out, and we'll just, I guess he's a little off center. So Alt A, and then move that up. So bring the radius in and bring that down. So again, by making the cylinder that way, we see the pivot points already set up for us. The head's nothing more than a sphere. So Alt A, I'm going to align it to the neck, and then pull it up. And I'm going to take one of these, bring this guy up here, and I'm going to change the color on this one. I'm just tired of looking at all this pink. And this one's going to be, I'm going to actually make two. This one's going to be the clavicle. Notice we're not worrying with the other side yet. Now I'm going to switch my move to local and just pull that right on in. I probably can delete one of those. Okay, so this is going to be his clavicle. And maybe I'll set that to smooth. And maybe I'll close that in a little bit. Okay. And I'll rotate this back. Maybe move it down. Like so. Okay, so there's one clavicle. And here's going to be one arm. And I'm just going to go ahead and copy these down. Let's get this rotation kind of set up correctly. So we'll make a copy. And notice I just put it right down here so that when we rotate it, we see that that looks right. Okay, so again, I'm going to select this guy, hit Control V and Alt A. Let me see, it lines it right up there. Control V, Alt A, just like so. Alright, now we could just take these guys and move them right on in like that. I'll rotate this whole thing out a little bit. Okay. Something like that. For his hand's nothing more than a box. And I'm gonna copy and let's make some adjustments. Let's pull this in. So I'll move that about like so. Obviously, if you want, all the fingers, then you can make those adjustments. Again, I scaled this, so I immediately go and reset the scale. And we want to affect the pivot, so I'm going to first center it to the object and then go to our front view, and I'm going to put it right like that. Alright, So again, I'm going to, and we'll make 2 copies. Okay. Now I'm going to take all 3 of these and I'm going to put the taper modifier, and I'll just taper that in down just a little bit, just to get a little more of that finger look. Okay, now I'm going to right click, convert to editable poly, and do that for each one. Okay, so the pivot points are correct. Okay, so now I'm going to take and we'll copy, and this guy will just have he'll just have 3 fingers. Maybe I'll scale these 3 down and scale these down as well. And then again, because I scaled it, and I'm gonna rotate this out, and these, and I'll move these down, and then maybe I'll go ahead and copy this one for the thumb. Alright, so that's the basic concept of the hand. And I'll just go ahead and take this guy, and I'm going to go ahead and change the color. And turn my snaps on so that I can rotate that a good strong 90 degrees. And let's move this in. Okay. But I mean, like you see, that's the concepts. That's the point. The biggest deal is making sure that the pivot points are correct. Now, at this stage, I would go in, and let's say I come back in, and maybe I want this leg beefed up a little bit. Maybe I want this guy to have a little bit of a calf, like so. Maybe a little bit of a forearm. Maybe give him a little bit of a muscle. Alright. And, you know, if we wanted to make adjustments to the legs, now would be the time to do that. Little trick, obviously maybe this could be a little smaller. But if you were to try to use the proportions, I'm going to copy the head, and then I'm going to copy this down like so, and let's just say, let's give 7 copies. So there is an 8 heads tall character. So, you know, if we wanted to say, okay, he's not quite like superhuman, so it's 7 heads tall. Now we kind of know how, you know, where everything should line up. These 4 right here should be his head, and then these 3 should take up his torso, and his knee should be here, right around the 2 head mark. So, you know, you could use a little trick like that to help you create and get this guy lined up. I'm not going to worry with it, as this is just to show you how to go about creating a character. The last thing that we're going to do is we now want these two, like this is the ankle and this is the rotator of the ankle. These need to all be connected. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select on the ankle here, convert to an editable poly, attach this one. So we see the pivot point is still right on the money. And I'm going to do the same thing for here. Convert to editable poly, just right clicking. Convert to editable poly, attach. So we see we get the nice joint there. Same thing again. Convert to editable poly, attach. And if if you wanted a joint here, you could put another one there. I'll just do it for now. Just Control V and then Alt A. And maybe this one would be a little smaller. So convert, attach, convert, attach, convert, attach. So we set this on local. We see that guy's ready to roll. And of course, if you want to make any adjustments to that hand, everything will be in order. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and make our copies. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and select this whole leg. And what I'm going to do, I'm in the front view, just going to copy this over like that. And this guy we're going to mirror with copying. We're just mirroring it. Okay, we see that the scale is negative. So we're going to reset the scale. We see that now it's back to positive. Because what that mirror basically does, I'm just going to make a copy here. If I take this and we see how I can flip it like this, right? That's essentially the kind of thing that it's doing. So we just fix the adjustment when we do the mirror. The legs, we are good to go because we haven't rotated, we haven't done anything really to them. They're fine. I'm going to go ahead and select all this guy. Mirror, this time we are going to copy and move this over. And I'm just trying to get the clavicle lined up right there. Okay, that looks good. Okay, then again, if we go to the scale tool, we see down here that the scale is set to -100. So we reset it. So get everything back to 100. And I'm just going through and picking them, because even though I selected all of this and reset the scale, sometimes something will get missed. So it looks like everything's fine. Okay, so that's good to go. We can at this point, color them up, play around with our lathe, get some cool shapes in here. We can do all kinds of things with it to, get this guy to look the way you want. As far as the eyes are nothing more than a circle that has been extruded. And I'm going to go ahead and put a black assign, and we'll make it shiny and glossy. And maybe we'll just have it like so. Alright. And now here's the trick with the eyes. What's going to happen, I'm going to use the align. I'm going to align to his head. Okay, so we see that it's lining to the pivot point on the X, Y, and Z. I'm going to now pull this out to where, as you can see, the edges are sitting right on the sphere. Okay, so it's sitting right on them. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Effect Pivot Only, and I'm going to hit Alt A, and as you can see, it is lining to the pivot point of the sphere which was selected. Pivot point is popping back there. We hit OK, turn off Effect Pivot. Now the pivot point's back here, so when we rotate, that rotation is staying perfectly on the sphere. So if I move this guy off to the side, and let's see how it's 25. So if I now hold Shift and copy this over, 25, it's at center, and then I go another 25. Then it's sitting there perfectly on the surface. And that's, for the most part, that's the those are the tricks. Setting the morph up. Obviously the mouth is going to be pretty much the same. I'm going to hit Control V. We'll do another copy, and I'll rotate this. Another 25 to move it to center, and then maybe I'll move it down 35 or so. Okay. So what we have here is we have ourselves eyes and a mouth. Now this other side I'm gonna get rid of for a minute. Okay, so I wanna go ahead and name this left eye and mouth. Okay, and with this, now going to copy this over, and I'm going to call this mouth base. And I'm going to copy this one over. I'm just going to go ahead and rotate this 25, just so it's back straight. And this is eye base. Okay, now this guy is going to get, and we can collapse it down if we want to. Actually, probably we need to do that. Actually, so I'm going to get rid of these. I'm going to cut the extrude, and we're going to convert to an editable spline, and then paste to get that back on. So convert to editable spline and paste. Okay, so now we can come in here and we can make adjustments as we see. Okay, so now I'm going to copy this over. Copy, rotate it back 25, just so it's looking straight at me again. And copy this one. So this is mouth, base, and this is the eye base. Okay, this dude now is going to get the morpher, and so is this one. Okay, so first things first, I'm going to just move this over here so we can just deal with the eye. I'm not going to go through and do all of these targets. I'm just going to do a couple. With the base, I'm going to make a copy, and I'm going to call this link. I'm going to come over here, and we're going to load. I'm going to say automatically reload load multiple, and we're going to load just a blink. Okay, so now if I come over here, we see the blink is loaded. I'm going to set that to 100, and then I'll come over here and I'm going to bring this down. We see that it's updating perfectly for us, and I can use my scale. So there's the blink. This guy, maybe move over here, and I can come over and make another one. And maybe let's call this one mean eyes. Come back, load mean eyes, crank it up, and then come in here, and maybe I'll do something like that. Whatever. You get the picture. But those are the concepts. Those are the principles. With that, you should be able to make anything in the world. And then, once we have that, then we can mirror this guy over, and we see that he's got a blink, and he's got his mean eyes, and everything's good to go. So hopefully, and now this guy is, he's ready to do the linking, link this and that and this and that, and get everything in there. Obviously, you would want your fingers to be linked on up, but the concept's the same for any character that you make. It's just a matter of how you've got those pivot points set up. Those pivot points are tremendously important. The last thing that I want to talk about is we see that, let's say this is his default position, and now we're ready to start rigging. The last thing that you want to do is you just want to, I'm just going to select on the entire guy, because we can see right now, go to rotate, and I pick on his arm, and I'm going to put it on view. And I'm just going through, put it on gimbal. So I'm just going through and I'm picking everything. And I see that all my rotations are at 0, which is what I want. Notice I'm watching down here. Okay. Another thing that you can do is to select everything, hold Alt, and then right click and go freeze rotation. And that'll do the same thing. It'll kind of force it. It'll set everything back to 0 if it was rotated. Alright. So hopefully that works. Hopefully you got something out of that and you can make your own little characters. Biggest points to remember, where those pivot points are. How where do the joints rotate from? How do they rotate? Where do they rotate? That's the biggest thing. Once you got that, you can make anything that you want. So anyway, I hope that helped. I hope that you can start making your own rigs now, your character rigs like this, so that you can now move into the rigging process and actually start animating this guy, and you should be able to have fun with them. So Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.